Welcome to The Global Girlfriend.
Shall we book a trip to New York City?
Yep.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Global Girlfriend. My name's Morgan,
And my name's Brianna.
and we're a podcast that's all about traveling, living abroad, connection, and all the stories that go into that. We're super excited for today's episode. We are back to doing interviews with people, and it feels great. And so today's episode is all about adventures of moving countries, starting fresh, and also building a freelance life. And I'm so excited to introduce you to one of my friends, Sophia. This
Hello,
is Sophia.
everyone. Thanks so
Yay,
much for having me. I'm
welcome.
very excited.
Yes, we're excited too. So, okay, we'll definitely hear more about Sophia, and I'll just start with sharing a little bit about how we met, which is so fun. So we met working at festivals, classic,
Uh-huh.
we love it, in Albania. And so we started, I can't remember what year it was. That was probably like,
Oh my God.
oh, maybe to the 21 or 22.
2021. Yeah, exactly.
2021. Okay, so some years ago. So we met working some music festivals in Albania and then continued to work festivals together there and then in France and then have also gotten to spend a lot of time with Sophia in London because she has been so kind to share her home with me. Um, and it's history
Anytime.
from there. And what?
Anytime. You can
Oh,
come anytime.
anytime. Oh, I really appreciate it. Okay, so Sophia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my God, what a question. So I'm Sofia. I'm actually Portuguese and I grew up living in Lisbon. But I have now moved to London and I've built my life here for the past 7 years or so. And you can tell that I work in events. As you know, it's a pretty chaotic life working in festivals, but it's a lot of fun. And that's pretty much what I do now, really. So yeah, very exciting. I used to be a musician, but not really anymore.
Okay.
That that is super interesting. So how did you, I mean, Lisbon is a beautiful place and we know so many people that want to go and live in Lisbon.
Mm.
What inspired you to move out of Lisbon and into London?
Mm. I think it's difficult to understand that when you grow up in a city that a lot of tourists love and want to move into, that's your reality, and it's very different from what they experience as well.
Mhm.
So growing up there was amazing and I absolutely loved it. It was great living by the sea and growing up with a big family and loads of friends and amazing food. But it wasn't what I was looking for. I knew that I was like super ambitious and I wanted to create a career for myself and like travel the world and experience all of these different things. And I couldn't really do that in Lisbon, even though it's beautiful.
Mhm.
So I've always wanted to go somewhere. And I thought about going to New York and Paris or Berlin. um, and then my mom took me to London when I was 15 to come and see the Harry Potter studios. And I loved it, honestly. It was like I fell in love with London. And I think that was one of the big reasons I wanted to come back. So when I was thinking about what I was wanted to do for uni, I knew that I wanted to go abroad. So I started researching, and it fell down that London was really easy, really close. The language was English, which was my second language. And it was like a hub for music and like cultural people and everything. So I was like, this sounds like the best city to go to. And I've been there once and I liked it. So yeah, let's do it. That's what I did.
Oh my goodness. Okay, love the story and the backstory that like it all and it's crazy you never think that like it's all gonna start. I mean, it started when you went on this trip with your mom, when you were 15 and it like started something that led you to now.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So what would you say like is the biggest difference you feel from Lisbon to London?
The thing that makes me annoyed every single time that I step foot in London is the amount of people around me. There's so many people. You can't walk in a
Yeah.
straight line. People don't know how to walk on the street. It's horrifying.
Okay, yeah.
And I
I
know
feel
that's like
that.
a really small detail, but it honestly, it's my biggest pet peeve of London. It's just the sheer amount of people that it has. It's absolutely insane.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
I get that.
And and so like you've mentioned you've been in London now for 7 years. When you first decided to move to London, did you think you were going to stay for this long?
Absolutely not. I thought that I was just gonna go for my uni course, 3 years, and that I would probably come back and find my dream career in Portugal, which is absolutely insane that I even consider that because that's almost impossible. Um, but it was funny because COVID happened, and I did have to return to Portugal in 2020, and I stayed there for about a year and a half,
Mhm.
but I still decided to come back after all of that. I just thought I was a piano teacher, and I thought, is this really what I want to do in life? Like, I love teaching, but
Mhm.
um, I want so much more, and I want to go travel the world, and I want to do big events and big festivals, and yeah, just really build this career for myself. And I knew that I couldn't do that in Portugal, unfortunately, even though Lisbon has amazing festivals that I'd recommend to anyone.
Mhm.
It's really difficult to work in them.
Mhm.
And it just wouldn't like allow me to grow the way that I've grown in London. So decided to come back a second time. Um, and that's actually how I started my career in the events besides doing my degree. um I was an immigrant working class girly in London who had to work my ass off. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Yes. We support
We know.
it.
We know what it's like. Own it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just had to work my ass off and study full time and work part time and do all those things to just try and get by. Um, and so when I returned the second time, I knew that I had to fight for the career that I wanted,
Yeah.
because I just couldn't like keep on working in restaurants and pubs and shops and whatnot. So yeah, I just took a leap of faith and returned to the UK without a job. Took all of my savings to come back as well. But it was the best decision I've done, or the second best. If maybe the best one was to come here the first time. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So then when you okay, that love the story. And so when you like were breaking into the freelance world, when you were like, okay, I need to make a change and really like get this career that I want. How did you think about events and how did you like get into it?
And it was difficult because you're so afraid of taking that leap because you don't know what's going to happen. It's a completely different career that you've had. It's a different lifestyle. You don't know anyone in it, so
Hmm.
it was very very scary. And I was working in a restaurant, and my mom sent me this opportunity on LinkedIn to volunteer for the main stage festivals that me and Morgan met at. Um,
Oh yeah.
so she sent me that, to volunteer in Albania for a whole month in a festival, and I just honestly had to like get my head around that I was quitting my job and going to Albania for a whole month, volunteering, not earning any money, just to try and see if this could turn into something. All of my friends were saying that I was going to get kidnapped and I was never going to return.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, that is a possibility, but I'm still going to try it. Um, so that was the big first leap for sure. And thankfully, it just gave me all of these opportunities ever since that. I've never returned to work in a festival, in a restaurant or a pub or anything. So yeah, that was a big leap.
That is amazing, and that is so inspiring, and I truly think, like, not many people would quit their steady, stable jobs to go and volunteer at a festival in Albania. Like, that just sounds so random, but it worked out it
Yeah.
worked out so well for you, and it's so inspiring to hear that, like, taking that one chance really, like, set you off on now this, like, incredible career in events. I think a lot of people, especially living here in Bali, I meet a lot of people that, they say they want to freelance, and they say they want to become a freelancer and work for themselves, and that sort of thing. And I think sometimes it can be a little bit glamorized as like, oh, I'm a freelance sort of person. But what is it actually like being a freelance events person in a huge international city?
Yeah, for sure. It's so glamorized, I think. And it's also worth noting that I think being a freelancer in events or in the like cultural industry might be very different from being a freelancer in like the tech industry or anything like that. Um, it still has the same base, sure, but it might be very different. And it's a difficult lifestyle to have, and not everyone will be good for it. But I think for me, it's exactly the perfect lifestyle that I've picked for myself. And I've tried the 9 to 5, and I've tried the part times, and I've tried everything else. And freelancing seems like the best way to to go around in my life. But it's not all glamour. In fact, it's a lot of research work and
Yeah.
like connecting with people, networking. I hate the word
Mhm.
networking, but whatever. Uh, it is a lot. Like I usually say that part of my job is researching for jobs and opportunities, and I don't think everyone could really do that. It's a lot of time and effort to build your CV, portfolio, go on LinkedIn and search all of these things, go and reach out to all the people you know that will probably never reply, but one might, and he might give you that one opportunity that you were looking for. So there's a lot of work in that, and then there's obviously a lot of work when you're actually doing a project and you're advancing it or going on site and working 16 hours a day in the dirt and then going to sleep in the tent and eating pizza every single day. And it's like, all right, this is not the festival glamorous life that I was thinking of. um, but you do find a love for it, and you do find like a reward at the end of it, knowing that you've done it, and that all of those people enjoyed it, and that you've done a good job, and that your team was amazing. And I'm sure Morgan knows that. We felt that together.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. So where are you at right now with that? Like, are you mostly looking for and doing events in London, or are you doing a lot of international ones? Like, how has that
So
been looking like in your life?
yeah, I've actually hit a new sort of step in the ladder where initially I was doing loads of festivals and concerts in England and the UK. Um, but now I've kind of grown a bit outside of it. Obviously, we've done festivals in France before. I've gone to Wales this year for the first time, which is really cool.
Cool.
But now I actually have an exciting new opportunity that might take me to I can't really disclose it, but it
Oh,
might.
exciting.
I love
It
it. I
might.
love a top
I might
secret
just say
thing.
it might take me to races around the world, which would be super exciting, and I'd get to travel to everywhere. I know I've never really left Europe, so this could be the one that takes me international um,
Okay,
level.
like
Super
yes.
excited.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but that sounds so exciting. Okay,
That
love it.
is that's so exciting, and
Mm,
congratulations. That, like,
thank
literally
you.
Yeah.
sounds so amazing. How
Mm.
so I mean, for people that don't know anything about what it's like to be a freelance events person, what what is, I mean, obviously you went to school and you've talked about, working up and working through the ladder. How has London helped you with that? How has moving to a big city like given you those opportunities?
I don't think people realize how important it actually is, because in a way, unfortunately, all of the opportunities are here, or most of the opportunities,
Okay.
either London or Manchester, I would say in these cases, um, because not only the people of events are here, and therefore the opportunities are here, but it's just a place where they connect, and then once you connect with those people, they can take you to their events, because sometimes festivals also don't happen in London. They happen
Hmm.
in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of this huge country. So, but even though they do, their bases are always going to be in the big city. So, the team that works in them always going to have an office in London. Even if they work from home, they'll meet up in London. So it's just brought me all of these connections, and a lot of events as well that also happen in London. So it's huge, and I think it's so important to live in a big city where you have the opportunities that you want.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's why I also considered London, or I could have considered Berlin, which is also an amazing city with loads of music opportunities. So I think if people are looking to be a freelancer in their area, um, maybe they should think about this, the big cities and what they could bring out to you and your career and everything. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. That's great advice. And then my sort of next question is, you mentioned your schedule and how it's very different. And I think, for some people, the idea of a 16-hour day and sleeping in a tent sounds awesome. And for other people, it sounds like a nightmare.
Uh-huh.
How do you find your freelancing schedule compares to like a regular 9 to 5 schedule? And what do you love about it or not love about it?
Yeah, it's so different. My flatmate has a 9 to 6 or 9 to 5, and when we're at home, our lives are so different. So obviously, I have dedicated days to work on my things. So things like my portfolio, CV, or research, or updating things and sending emails, all that sort of stuff. I usually uh, do like half days to do that. If I'm on a very busy schedule, a busy period of the year, like the summer, I'll have like everything laid out in my schedule with my advancing days, how many hours I'm gonna put for that project on that day. Am I gonna do a full day? Which sometimes would mean I'm working a nine to six, in my house, advancing for a show. But some other days, I don't do anything, or I just have that time for myself, or I'll wake up at 10 a.m. and go to the gym and then come back and have lunch and then do maybe one email and then go out. Like, it's just completely off. And I love that flexibility of being able to do my time the way that I want, and even my work time the way that I want, where I don't really have to respond to anyone else. I just really need to get the project done. Obviously, you're working in a team, but there's no pressure from above to do work because you're working during work hours. You just
Yeah.
do the work because you have to do it. You have to complete it. And you can do it anytime. Sometimes I'll work at 10 p.m., until midnight. I'm kind of a night owl, so I usually do more nights rather than waking up at 6 a.m. Um,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I didn't like about the 9 to 5. I hate waking up early in the morning, going to the tube full of people, going to the office, and then sometimes already having achieved my goals and my tasks for the day and having to pretend that I was doing something productive. Um, yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then coming back home at 6 p.m. when it's already night outside, back on the tube, lost 2 hours of my day on transports. It was just a bit much. And I think freelancing gives me that flexibility of knowing when to do the things that I want to do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get that. I love a flexible work life, and so that's something I really relate to.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's beautiful to hear. Um, I was thinking like, okay, so there's always like, pros and cons with everything we do. And so
Mm.
like I mean, there's pros and cons with like that kind of schedule as well. What has it been like? I feel like with freelancing, you're like you mentioned you had to do, you have to do research and network. um, does it ever feel exhausting or like because you're constantly putting yourself out there, so how does
Mm.
that feel for you?
That's a good point. That's why I think it's not for everyone. I have a friend who's a designer, and I've told her, "Oh, you should freelance. Like it's perfect for you." And but it's just not for her because she hates always having to put herself out there and trying to connect to people just to get jobs. Um, and I do feel that pressure sometimes. I do have the real like LinkedIn is giving me the bad vibes today, so I'm not going to go on there, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just try to put those boundaries in because I know how toxic sometimes this can be. And thankfully, I've reached a position where I have a good group of events people who are also my friends, and I can reach out and I can be really honest about how I'm feeling in the events world. And I could reach out for help, or I could reach out for opportunities, or so that also gives me a bit of a deep breath, fresh breath, if you want, like of in the events world where I don't have to necessarily put myself out there all of the time because I do have
Hmm.
this nice space that I can always come back to. Um, but it can be exhausting, especially LinkedIn sometimes. And yeah, I do
Yeah.
put those boundaries in. I'm like, no LinkedIn today.
Boundaries are essential. I'm really good.
Yes.
I'm really glad that you implement those and are aware of them. That's
Yeah.
crucial.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's I think that also like maybe segues nicely into like our sort of next section, which is sort of talking about like your lifestyle and how like you've grown through this experience. So growing up
Hmm.
in Lisbon and now you live in London, obviously there's a lot of differences. And obviously like you mentioned the large amounts of people. How has moving to a new city helped you grow as a person?
Oh my god, so much, like incredibly much that I could never realize. Um, it's really difficult moving to a new city, um, especially when the language is different, culture is different, the people are different, everything is different, really. And I don't think even I was really ready to move and realize how big that decision was.
Hmm.
And sometimes people glorify as well, like these decisions. Oh, you live in London, that must be amazing. You must cross the London Bridge every single day. I'm actually not very far, but but it's not glorious. And Morgan will know from staying in my house that it's very loud outside and I can't sleep, and I live in a tiny apartment, and you're always worrying if you're going to pay the bills, um and that has followed me through ever since I've moved to London. But that has given me the like perseverance and the confidence and independence to like being able to go through these challenges by myself. Um, Obviously, thankfully I've always had the support of my family and friends that I've made here in London as well. Um, but it wasn't easy, and I've gone through definitely a lot that has taught me so much. Um, Even just being nice to others. And you've probably heard that Londoners are very rude, and it's true. But I always try to be nice. That's what I've learned. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that honestly, I think, and we've talked about that a lot on this podcast, like when you move abroad, you're just tested in every single way imaginable. And it can sound so
Hmm.
nice on paper to be like, oh, I live in London, I live in Paris. But actually, when you get into the reality of it, like every single day, there's sometimes a new challenge that comes with it. So thank you for your
Yeah.
honesty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It gets lonely, and it gets difficult. And sometimes I didn't have any money in my account, or In the beginning, it was so hard with like missing your family and wanting to go back. It gets easier for sure, but I think if people are moving to a new city, or if they have a big plan like this, it's difficult to realize that it's not going to be easy, and it's a sort of a long project, a long-term plan. You will see the results in a few years, and nowadays I love my life here, and um, I wouldn't change it for anything. But it took me a long way to be comfortable with who I am and my financial position and my house and my friends, and even my loneliness and my independence. Like it takes a long time to feel comfortable in those things. So but it's so worth it. You learn so much and you see so many new things, and you realize that the world is so big, um, that you don't need to be in your head all the time, because you're just one tiny little ant in the middle of this gigantic world, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that like this you've explained this so well, and that's like such great perspective. I feel like that I need reminding of all the time, and I think that's also like just really good to point out, like that when you do move to a new place, or you're in a whole new environment or context, it does take time to kind of build your life and build that community, build your freelance work life, and it just takes time. And
Mm.
love your story. It's a great
Thank
one.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I think, a lot of our listeners are people who have lived abroad or are thinking about living abroad. What for you, what in those moments of loneliness or in those moments of feeling, sad or like you wanted to go home, over your years in London, what started to make London feel more like home for you?
Mm. This is such a difficult question, because every time that I go back to Lisbon, it doesn't feel like home anymore.
Oh.
And I want to come back to London, even though I love being in Lisbon, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but I think after a while, you start getting a new perspective of, to me, if I lived and worked in Lisbon, it wouldn't be as nice as when I go back on holiday. That's like a difficult thing to understand, because when I go back, I am with my friends and family, and there's big parties and lunches, and I'm going to the beach, and I'm doing all these things, which wouldn't happen if I lived there and worked there. Um, and I kind of have to think that way as well when I come back home, which is now London. Um, that I won't have this big London holiday like people think that sometimes I am,
Hmm.
because I live here. But the things that have made it home, I think I've come to realize, is really getting like engraved with the city. So I've really lived it. I've seen all the big landmarks 1,000 times, which I love, and I love like walking around the city and finding new things and going to new museums and new shows, and um, experiencing the culture, even though the UK doesn't have much of a culture. But like trying the pub lunch, or the beer culture on the sunny afternoon, that sort of thing kind of has made it home. And you then start really craving those moments. Oh, it was so cool when I had that barbecue with my friends at my friend's house, or when we went for a beer on a Sunday afternoon, or whatever. um so those little things, like those little details, started making it like home. But you always, I keep saying that I have a foot in each door, or in each room, I guess you could say. So you never truly leave where you started from, but um, you don't belong fully here either. It's a very odd sensation, but you kind of learn to live with it and be comfortable with it as well, and you kind of become proud to be from both places in a way. Yeah.
I love that. That is like you put that so well. And I think that anybody that has spent any sort of significant amount of time with their heart in two places totally understands how you feel. I loved how
Mm.
you phrased that.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that was like quotable. That was literally iconic. That's amazing.
Clip it.
Um,
Clip it. It's going
Clip
on the gram.
it.
Love
It
it.
has to. It has to. Okay, so there was a lot of, I think, just like honestly iconic depth in what you just said. Like we both relate to that, obviously, and I think a lot of people will
Mm.
understand that. On a lighter note of what you just said, you've kind of mentioned just, like getting beers with friends, having like a Sunday pub lunch, like these little things that have also played into just kind of making a place home. So that's making me think of food. So, like, what's that been like food wise, like Lisbon versus London?
Oh my god, that was one of the big shocks for sure. Just and it still is. Even after almost 8 years now, it still is a shock. The food, unfortunately, in the UK is not good. Very rarely it will be good. And I love food, probably because
Yeah,
in Lisbon it's amazing.
yeah,
So it's really difficult going back to Lisbon and having this amazing food, and also having like a different behavior with food there, and then coming
yeah,
back and everything is so different. Supermarkets, everything is so different. The quality of the food is different. The behavior styles that I have with food are different because the time is different. The sun goes down earlier. All that stuff. Um, there's some things I love here, but I could probably count it with with one hand.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like food, I mean, well, it depends where, but I also feel like a lot of times food from where you're from is like, you often like really are connected to it. And like, I felt, well, when I was living abroad, there was certain things that I always really missed when I was home. And um,
Yeah, it's
so
difficult
I get
being
that.
from a country where the food is so iconic as well. Like it's almost its sort of own culture. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like imagine if an Italian would move to the UK as well. I'm sure they relate.
Yeah. Yeah. They'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Um, in this vein, I have another question, and I could just be completely off the map here. But I feel like I read somewhere or something like, is there a place in Portugal that like gets some of the most sunny days of the year, like the least amount of rain or something like that? Or Portugal is a pretty sunny
Interesting.
country in
Yeah.
general, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what was that like coming from a place that is, known for its sunshine, especially in the summer? What was it like, that climate difference when you first
Mm.
moved?
Yeah. Very difficult as well. Yeah, Portugal is very sunny. It's one of the things that I loved most about Portugal, probably, is the sun and the light that you get during the daytime. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, when I come here in the summer, England is not very bad. It's beautiful as well, actually, and
Okay.
you do get more sunlight even than Portugal,
Oh.
but just in the summer.
Ooh. Okay. So very, very limited amount of time.
It's
For a brief
brief.
amount of time, you get more sun. And the winter is very difficult. I keep on struggling with the winter, especially January and February are the worst months.
Mhm.
Um, the sun sets at like 3:30 in the afternoon, and I'll call my
Whoa.
mom at 4 p.m. Obviously, she has this beautiful sun outside, and I'm like, it's already night here. This is horrible. You
Oh,
really do get like
Oh,
that
that's, yeah.
season depression. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, it snows. It's nice.
Oh, that's, yeah.
That can be romantic.
Okay. So if you were going to give some advice to people considering a move or even freelance, whatever advice you feel like you want to share, what would you tell someone?
I would say, like, don't be afraid. Um, Easy things are not scary. The difficult things are very scary. But you should do the difficult thing because it's going to give you so much more reward, whatever it might be, moving or starting a freelance career. But don't be afraid of like putting yourself out there and talking to people and really, I like to say, sell yourself even though it's hard and you probably hate doing it, just try to do it, because people will actually be like, oh, okay, yeah, she's actually pretty cool. And yeah, it could even be for anything, not even work, but to make new friends, or to start a new activity that you've never done before. Like, just don't be afraid to try it out. You never know what you're going to get from it. And you might start something amazing that you love. You just don't know it yet. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's difficult, but stick to it.
Stick to it. Oh, that is stunning advice. And and it can, like you said, it can apply to moving abroad, moving anywhere, free
Mm.
your work life, or it just applies to so many
I have
different
this
parts of life.
really stupid example where you're trying to watch something new on TV and you're like, oh, I have nothing to watch. I wish I had a show that I loved to watch, like, when I love to watch The Office or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's because even you haven't tried the new shows that are right there in front of you. Like, if you try, that might be the next show that you love. You just don't know it yet.
Oh, I
So
think that's a
yeah,
great example that
Yeah.
we can all relate to. Yeah.
And sometimes it's the unexpected ones that really catch you off guard that become your
yeah,
like biggest obsession.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I mean, even with that example, and sometimes you're like an episode in and you're like, "Ah, I don't know, should I keep going?" And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to keep going. And you're like, whatever. And then by the time you get to the end of it, you're like, this is the best show I've ever seen in my life.
Uh-huh.
It
So
changed my
you
life
never know.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Or, when you think like, oh, I wish I could rewatch that show like the first time. There's so
Yeah.
many shows out there that you could actually watch for the first time, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
And you're gonna
Hmm.
think that once you watch them.
That is so true. I love that perspective. So as we sort of start to wrap things up here at the Global Girlfriend, we love to do a rapid fire question round,
Yes,
where
we
we
do.
just ask you questions and you tell us the first thing that comes to your mind.
Like,
So, are you ready?
no.
Okay.
Well, here we go.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
buckle up because we're playing anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
so very serious question here. Pastel de nata in Lisbon or tea in London?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the most difficult decision ever. But I would have to stay with Pastel de Nata, I think.
Yes,
But
yes,
with
yes, yes.
tea, surely you can do both at the
I
same
mean,
time.
that's an iconic duo. Okay, next question is go to London neighborhood for inspiration.
Probably South Bank, and Borough area, sort of Riverside. Yeah.
Okay, love
Okay.
it, love it. And if you could work any event in the entire world, what event would you want to work?
My favorite event that started my whole dream for events is Primavera Sound in Spain, but they also have in Portugal, and probably they have a bunch more coming out in America, I think. Iconic. I would love to work in Primavera. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
I love it. That is awesome. Okay, well,
Amazing.
oh my goodness. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. It has been so lovely to meet you and get to know you and hear more of your inspiring story. If people want to hire you, where can they find you on the internet?
They can find
Beautiful.
me. That's amazing. Um, I'm Sophia Mariz, or Mariz, or however. I just don't. There's no really way of spelling my name. Mariz. You can find me on LinkedIn, on my website, sophiamariz.com, or my Instagram, which is a bit more, funky Instagram stuff, at Sophia Mariz as well. That's me.
Okay, love that.
Amazing.
Everyone, yeah, go find Sophia. Um, Truly, thank you so much for being on here. It was one just great to catch up and see you because it's been far too long. And so really appreciate it. And then, so I guess the Global Girlfriend, if you want to find us on the internet as well, we have a website, theglobalgirlfriend.com. Find us on socials, at the Global Girlfriend on Insta or TikTok. I think that's about it.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. I loved it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck on whatever that new big secret project is.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See ya. Bye.